Hi everyone, and welcome to my first real estate video in years. I feel I made a video like this, I think 3 years ago in 2021 when rates were low and you were still able to find cash flow positive properties outside of the GTA. I know I'm probably going to call this video how to find cash flow positive properties in Toronto, but that's probably impossible. So I just go to the suburbs. I started investing 12 years ago. I'm an accountant and a realtor if you're new to the channel. I got my license to buy my own properties and then slowly started expanding because people saw I was able to get just like a working real estate rental portfolio. All the properties I've been buying recently have to be 50-50 or even 1/3 just because I don't have enough buying power to put the down payment because everything's so expensive. And I also won't get approved for all the mortgages. So started a corporation trying to buy with other investors. What I like to do now, I'm talking really fast. Now that rates are dropping, I like to jump back into the market, play around with some numbers and just show you what I would be looking for if I wanted to get into the rental real estate market. I did a little bit of research playing around here. This is just like the back end of MLS. I've harbored a few that I think would be decent for new investors. What I look for is 2 kitchens. I want a basement apartment that I could rent out for like at least $1,000 or $1,200 and then try to get $2,500 upstairs to try to make some money. I'll be using a little sensitivity analysis. I'll just be playing around with 3 scenarios. There'll be a lot of edits in this. Maybe I'll cut out people's names. Maybe I'm just doing some research because I'm trying to find how much I think it'll sell for and then how much the units will rent. I'm not just going to make up numbers. So jumping right into, let's look at 321 Main. I'll put it here. Pulling this one up. It's been on the market for 45 days and it's not that pretty inside, so it needs a little TLC or people can live in it as is. I think it's currently tenanted right now. It's 3-bed, 3-bath, but one of these are a basement apartment. One of these is a basement apartment. What you need to do, estimate the tax. Let's plug this into our calculator. So since it's been on the market for 45 days, if something's been on the market for 21 days, I think it's too early to say if it's overpriced, but 45 days overpriced. What we're going to do, we can probably get this for $525. So plugging this in here, $525,000. And then if we look at the different down payment that we put, I'm thinking 2025 is possible. 10, probably not possible anymore. When I first bought a place 12 years ago, I put 5% down and it was cash positive, but that was in Newmarket. The taxes, if we go plus 730 divided by 12. Insurance, I pay around 100, and then miscellaneous, let's do 300 for this one. And then looking at, I obviously pre-selected this one because I saw the rental rates in the area. Looking at what these would rent for, we're looking at 1,100 for the basement and then 2,200 upstairs. So we are just looking at this, even taking $300 a month, just like miscellaneous expense. This is a little older, so you might need to put some money aside just to fix it up. Even, you know what we're going to do? Even though we could get this for $525, let's call this $550 because we'll put $25,000 in fixing it up. So that'll ruin our return a little bit. Right now, I'm finding 4.19% as the interest rate. If I just move this up a little, 4.19. And this brings us closer to the cash positive area. The Bank of Canada is predicting 3 more rate cuts. So we could end up in the 3% range, and I'll play around with that a little later. You look over here, look for the X. This is a cash outflow, which I'm not interested in. You want the greens. I wouldn't recommend putting 30% down. I just feel like your money could be better used other places. I would put the minimum to get something cash positive. I'd be looking for 20% down, so 110,000, which is still a lot. And if you're thinking, what am I going to do with this? What would I make at the end of 10 years? If we assume 3% increase per year over 10 years, I'm not saying this will happen, but I'm sure people have said this house wouldn't be $550 now. Things have gone up. Okay, what am I going to say? The currency will be devalued as well. So 739 now sounds like a lot, but in the future it won't be. If we take away around 30% for the mortgage, 6% for agent, lawyer, and tax, and then take away your initial investment, you could end up with $65,000 gain if you sell at the end of 10 years. If you don't want to keep it and just run it as a cash positive, like rental real estate portfolio, this is not taking into account, let's say, the $100 that you'd be making over the 10 years. So if we were to add that times 120, so you could be making an additional $16,000. It's not the biggest, but if you're looking to build a real estate portfolio, this could be great. And not taking into account the rental increases, so increased by 2% a year, but we might also need to be increasing this by 2%. But I think this would outpace inflation. No, you can't. It's capped, actually. So this is one scenario. If we're renting for something if we're finding something for this cheap, like $550, and then I found a second one, Nightingale. I wanted to find something a little prettier, a little done up, and maybe less work, but obviously it is more expensive. If we take a look at the pictures, it's a little better. You see, they put a little bit more effort into this. Should I zoom in on the pictures? I don't know if this is banned, actually. This video might get, I hope this video doesn't get banned. Because I'm showing, and no, this is public. If you can find this on House Sigma, I'm not too worried about it. This is a lot nicer. It won't need a lot of TLC. Here's the issue. 5 parking spaces, which is great. Has 1 bedroom in the basement and 2 kitchens. So where am I looking for? If I could find, oh, there we go. This is what I meant to show you. Kitchen plus, 1 plus 1. So 1 in the basement. Great. So this is why I was interested with 116 days on the market. It is way overpriced. So looking at what houses sold for this in this area, around $675,000. So that's what we'd be aiming for. And I'm sure the realtor would be happy to get this off his hands because it's been sitting for a while. And it's currently tenanted and it's fully leased out. I think they said $42,000 a year. So if we plug it in here, 675. And then the taxes are $3,000. Insurance, let's say $125. And then this needs less because it's newer. So let's put $200 aside. Even if you're not spending it, just put it aside as an emergency fund. And this was renting for $42,000 a year. So if we're looking at just $3,500. You know what? Looking at this, I'm guessing this is a little too high. A little better. A little better. This might be optimistic. Over here, we have the actual numbers that they gave us. So you'd be breaking even. You'd be breaking even at the 20% down, which is a lot more. But if we look at what if you were going to sell it for, what you would be selling it for in 10 years, if you put 135 down, you could be walking away with 80,000, which is around 60%. Let's say if we were just doing, 6% a year, you could be getting more than that in the market. But again, Canadian real estate has gone up more than 3% per year over the last 10 years, but I'm not going to assume that. I'm just going to assume just a stable 3%, which I feel is pretty conservative. And again, this 18 is taking into account 200 a month. What if you don't actually use it because it is brand new? And since the rents are higher, every additional increase when you go up by 2% could be worth more. You know what I'm wondering? Why is this? I'm looking both in Hamilton. Why is this so much higher? That's interesting. Now, if you don't want Hamilton and you're thinking Whitby, just something on the, never eat shredded wheat, something on the east side of the GTA, I found this one. It is a 4-bed, 2-bath. If we look for the kitchen plus, it has 1 in the basement. It is a pretty big unit. The taxes here, not as high. This one was on the market for 9 days. Let's say it's near market value. It's a semi-detached. Let's say it's $725,000. If we were to just get a little bit of a discount. And then we went 4,400 divided by 12. Let's say 125. Look at the pictures. Let's just judge how new or nice we feel it is. Not too... Seems decent. New paint, new floors-ish. Doesn't seem ruined by the tenants. So if we were just to put 200, we'd need at least 3,800 rent. And let's see if we could make that. I'm going to try to actually search if I could find this in the map. Okay, take a look at this. Whitby, you could probably make a lot more. If we're looking at this unit, the basement is renting for $1,700 a month. And if we're looking for something that has a split upstairs and downstairs, this one is renting, it is a townhouse. It's renting for $3,200. That's probably a little too high. So we're going to aim for, let's say the midpoint of these two, around $2,800. This one is smaller for the upstairs, so I'm not going to be asking this much. This one is too big, so I'm probably not going to ask $3,200. I'll look for $2,800 plus $1,700 because the basement is nice and this basement is pretty big. So if we were to go plus $1,700 plus $2,800, we'd be extremely cash positive. Again, this does seem too good to be true, even with 10% down. If this is too aggressive, let's say $1,300 for a basement, that seems too much. Anytime I plug in numbers and I see that 10% is making money, I know it's wrong and I'm going too conservative or too optimistic. I should go more conservative. So let's say 4,100 for that house, and it is pretty big. It does look pretty nice. So what we would do, 20% down, you'd be making, let's say, 280 a month over 10 years. Let's say 120, 34,000. And if you were to sell it at the end of 10 years, it'll be worth almost $1 million. If we take away your mortgage, agent fees, your initial investment, you probably walk away with a gain of $85,000, which is, what is this? Times 100. Okay, again, around 60%. Is that the same thing every time? Oh yeah. Interesting. I might need to modify these numbers a little because I'm taking away the same percentage from the mortgage and I'm assuming the same increase. But obviously every city, every area increases slightly different. I think Whitby would increase more than Hamilton. If after all this time, a house in Hamilton is still 500,000, something's wrong. Hamilton does increase a little bit more, does increase slower than everyone else. Another point I wanted to mention, rates were 6%. None of these would be possible. Some variable rates were 7%. Look how bad this is. But as rates drop from 7 to 6, some things become cash positive. As we went from 6 to 5, more things became cash positive. And right now we're at, I was quoted 4.19. Things are affordable, but if you go variable, or let's say you fix for 3 years, fix for 2 years, and then as rates drop, you refinance or you get something new. The Bank of Canada is aiming for 3.5%. Almost everything becomes cash positive. Well, if you're okay with 10% negative, a small negative on 10% down payment. But let's use this as an example. If we were to look at, let's put this number here. No, that's wrong. Let me put it here. Just as an example, and then we'd go one minus the other. Cool. Let's take a look at this. So from 4.2, if we went down to 3.5, look at the variance. All of a sudden, you're making another $150 a month. This is if rates went down. If you were able to lock in 3%, you could probably make everything cash positive, really. I hope we don't go down below 3% because it doesn't seem sustainable. But if you went down to 2.5, you know how some people had 1.8%? I had 1.8% for 4 years. And I refied and it's a lot higher. But almost everything becomes cash positive, right? But then obviously at 1.8%, these prices would be higher. But let's just take what the Bank of Canada is saying. If they say 3.5, if you buy something now at these prices, don't wait till the prices go up, obviously, but you could be making another $200 if you buy in Hamilton. You could be making another $200 if you buy in Whitby. I think we're going to leave it here using some real life examples. I used one that had the tenants in there, so we used the 42,000, which was this. I'm wondering if you could increase it. If this is below market, if you could increase it a little more for the whole house. This one might be too optimistic. This one might be too low. The house is nice. You could probably sell it for a little bit more. I think I'm going to end it here. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching and tune into the next one.